Hello everybody, this is Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to make this shawl here. If you look at it, it's got bobbles and then it's got some ridges here. It's not hard as long as you are familiar with bobbles in front and back post stitches. Otherwise it's a pretty simple repeat. Now it's not a huge shawl. I didn't make it to be a huge shawl, but you can definitely make it, keep repeating it for as large as you want it to be. So I'm going to go ahead and set my camera down and we'll take a quick measure. Okay, also I'm going to move my camera again. As you can see, it does have a bit of a dip. Not much, but a bit. And now that's supposed to be like that. Don't worry about that. If that's happening to you, that is completely normal. I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to give you a quick measure from point to point. And that won't be including this dip. I'm going to go straight across. You'll see me do it here. From this point, not going counting that dip, all the way across here. Oh my goodness. It's about 50 inches, okay? And then from the center down to the point at the bottom is about 27. From the side to the bottom point, approximately 45. So it's, like I said, it's not huge, but you are more than welcome to get more yarn than what I said at the beginning and make it as big as you want to wrap around you, however much you want. I wanted it to be a little bit smaller, kind of maybe look like kind of like a cowl in the front, as you can see from the photos, but you know, make it as big as you want. So let's go ahead and get started on this baby. All right, I want to say a special thanks to all my friends at Lionbrand for providing today's yarn. Today I'm using their Coboo yarn, which is a lightweight 3, and it's a 50 cotton, 50 bamboo blend. It's really soft and it's really nice. It makes a nice lightweight project. There's 232 yards per cake. This is my 5th cake. I did not use a lot of it, but I did use some of it, as you can see. Of course, like I said, mine's not huge, so if you want to make yours bigger, you're going to need quite a bit more yardage than what I said. But 232 yards, 5th cake right there, not all the way used. So you can determine how much more you need if you want to make it quite a bit larger. So, and the color that I'm using is called Ice Blue. They got lots of pretty colors of the Coboo yarn. And don't forget to check out lionbrand.com. Look, over 7,500 free patterns for you to enjoy. Lots of beautiful yarns for you to choose from. So thanks again to Lionbrand. And then I'm going to be using a size J, which is a 6mm crochet hook. And I want to take just 1 second to ask you not to forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you don't miss out on any of my videos or anything else that I do. If you look in the lower right hand corner of this video right here, you go ahead and click on that red subscribe button and you'll automatically be subscribed and you'll never miss any of my updates. Also, if you like this shawl, you like this video, if you could give it a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start out with a slip knot on our hook, and then we're going to work a chain of 4. Now I'm going to slip stitch into my first chain to form a ring. Just like that. Now I'm going to chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we're going to go back through the center of the ring and we're going to work 3 double crochets. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Then we're going to work a chain of 2, which is the point of the poncho, the bottom point. And then we're going to go back through and work 3 more double crochets. And that will end, pull your tail, close up that center circle a little bit more, and also you can sew it together more at the end if you want. That'll end row 1, and you'll have 6 stitches there. So for row 2, we're going to chain 1 and we're going to turn our work. Now always, no matter what row you're on, you want to start the very first stitch right here, working 3 double crochets into that very first stitch. So there's 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we get to our first chain 2 space. So row 2 is actually the start of the repeat. It's a 4-row repeat. So this row 2 is the start of the repeat. We started by chaining 1, working 3 double crochets into the first stitch, and now we're going to work 1 double crochet into every stitch until we get to our first, or we get to our chain space right here, the point of the poncho. And then when we get to the point, what we want to do is work through the point 2 double crochets. This is going all through the chain space. A chain of 2 and 2 more double crochets. Like that. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to our last stitch. Remember, our last stitch, sometimes it's hard to see. It's right over here on the end. And the last stitch gets 3 double crochets. No matter what row you're on, your last stitch will always get 3 doubles, and your first stitch will always get 3 doubles. So there's 3 doubles into that last stitch, and that will end row 2. And you should have a total of 14 stitches. So for row 3, what we're going to do is chain 1 and turn our work. Start out, as always, with 3 double crochets into the very first stitch. Oops. And now we're going to work a front post double crochet in every stitch until we get to our chain 2 space. So we're going to go ahead and yarn over, and we're going to go around the post of the next stitch, the front post of it, like that, to where the post is on the front of your hook. And then we do our front post double crochet, and we're going to do that in every single stitch until we get to our chain 2 space. Make sure you go onto that last stitch there, front post double crochet around it before our chain 2 space. And now into the chain 2 space, we will work 2 regular double crochets, a chain of 2, and then we're going to go back into the same chain space and work 2 more regular double crochets. just like that. And now we're going to work one front post double crochet in every stitch until we get to our last stitch. And we get up here, it does look a little bit congested because your stitches are really together. Make sure you spread those apart. Go through that stitch there and back post or front post. I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep saying that, front post double. And then in this last stitch here, it's kind of hard to see, we put 3 double crochets in it. Always 3 doubles in our last stitch. And that'll end row 3, and you should have a total of 22 stitches now. So for row 4, we are going to chain 1 and turn our work. And if you flip around, you see we got a ridge there in the front. That's what we want. See it right here? So now we're going to create another ridge. So we're going to start off a row 4 by working 3 double crochets into the very first stitch, as always. And now we're going to work 1 back post double crochet in every stitch until we get to our first, or till we get to our chain 2 space. So the back post is this yarn over, go through or around the post of the stitch from the back to where the post is on the back of your hook, and then you go ahead and do your double crochet. And we're going to do this in every single stitch. Back post double crochet. And if you look, it's creating a second ridge, and that's what you want it to do. Here I've made it to the chain 2 space, and that's where I'll work 2 regular double crochets, a chain of 2, and 2 more regular double crochets. And now I'm going to continue working 1 back post double crochet in every stitch until I get to my last stitch. Oops. Drop that one. Alright, I'm coming up on my last stitch here. And remember to look closely, because like I said, it does get really congested looking right here at the end, because you got those 3 stitches. So make sure you pull them apart. I'm going to go back post around that second to the last stitch. And then the last stitch is going to get 3 double crochets into it, just like always. One, 2, and 3. And that will end row 4, and you'll have a total of 30 stitches now. And that's what it kind of looks like. And if it's a look like wavy looking, and that's okay, it'll straighten out. But you got your 2 rows of ridges now. Now we're going to work row 5, which is the bobble stitch row. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. As always, we're going to start out with 3 double crochets into the very first stitch. Every row, no matter which one, is always 3 doubles into the first stitch. There we go. Now I'm going to work a bobble into the next stitch. So I'm going to yarn over, this is how we do the bobble, and go into the next stitch and drop a loop. I'm going to yarn over and go through the first 2 loops. I want to do that for a total of 5 times. So that would be number 1. So I'm going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 2 times. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2. That's 3 times. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, or the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. That's 4 times. One more time, we're going to yarn over, go into the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook, and you will have 6 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6 loops. I like to pull it, give it a little pull to make it tight, and then we're going to single crochet directly into the next stitch, just like that. Now it doesn't look like much, but when you flip it over, your bobble appears on the opposite side where it should with the ridges. So we're going to repeat that until we get to our chain 2 space. So we're going to bobble into the next stitch. We're going to yarn over, go in, drop a loop, and yarn over and go through the first 2 loops on your hook. Repeat that until you have a total of 5. So that would be counting as number 1. Again, yarn over, go in, same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2 loops. That's 2 times. Yarn over, go into the same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. 3 times. Yarn over, same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, first 2 loops. That's 4 times. One more time. Yarn over, same stitch, drop a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2. You'll have 6 loops that remain. Yarn over and go through all 6, give it a little tug, and single crochet into the next stitch. Flip it over and you'll see your bobbles are starting to form. So we're going to repeat that all the way till we get to our chain 2 space. So I'm going to bobble into the next stitch, 6 loops that remain, yarn over, go through all 6, give it a tug, single crochet into the next stitch. So I'm going to repeat this pattern, bobble single until I get to my chain 2 space. Alright, I've come to my chain 2 space. Your last stitch should have been a single crochet, and now we're going to work into the chain 2 space. What we're going to do is we're going to go through there and we're going to work a bobble. So 1 bobble. This part gets a little tight, but that's okay. Here's my bobble. Pull it tight. I'm going to pull it over a little bit. Single crochet into the same chain space. And now I'm going to chain 2. Now I'm going to single crochet again into the next chain space. And I'm also going to work another bobble into the same chain space. So like I said, it does get a little tight here, but that's okay. So there's my bobble. And then I'm going to pull tight and pull it back and single crochet right here into my first stitch over here on this side. So in the chain space, you should have a bobble, a single, a chain 2, a single, and a bobble. That's what goes into the chain 2 space. And then we single crochet it into our first stitch, and then we're going to bobble into our next. Pull it tight and single into our next. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side. We're going to repeat the bobble crochet, single crochet, repeat until we get to our last stitch. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 5. Now your last stitch before your last stitch should be a bobble, and then in the last stitch we put 3 double crochets. As always, no matter what row you're on, 3 doubles into the last stitch, and now you should have a total of 38 stitches. That's including all the double crochets, all the bobbles, and all the single crochets. You'll have a total of 38. So now we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now the bobbles, it's going to look, they're all going to be hanging over and stuff, and that's fine. What we're going to do now is repeat rows 2 through 5. So that is the repeat. And you repeat that for as big as you want your shawl to be. So row 6 is a repeat of row 2, which is just a double crochet row. And by doing that, it's going to pop these bobbles right up like they're supposed to. So I'll go ahead and repeat row 2. You just start off by double crochet or 3 doubles into the first stitch, and then it's 1 double in every stitch until you get to your chain 2 space. So you have to look, it's 1 double in the single crochets and on top of the bobbles. So when you get to a bobble, you take it, just flip it over a little bit, you'll see right at the top of it, that's where you need to double crochet into. And don't forget to double crochet into the single crochet that's between the bobbles. Got to make sure you get all the stitches or your counts won't end up right. And then on top of the bobble, and the single crochet in between. So it's just a repeat of row 2. It's just 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to your chain 2 space. Now when you get to your chain 2 space, it's the same thing. It's just you got to be able to see, you got to make sure you get all these stitches. So you want to go into the top of the bobble that's in the chain 2 space and double crochet. You want to double crochet into the next single crochet, and then you got your chain 2 space. It's kind of small, but it's in between those 2 single crochets, and that's where you work your 2 doubles, chain of 2, and 2 more doubles. And then make sure you double crochet into that next single crochet and into the top of the next bobble, and then you just keep working 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to the end. It's just a repeat of row 2. It's just, you just got to be careful where you're putting your stitches there to make sure you get them all, because sometimes they get a little tight between the single crochets and the bobbles. And just take your time and make sure you're getting them all so you have the correct number of stitches. So when I get to the end here, I'll just do my 3 double crochets into the last stitch. And as you can see, doing that double crochet row straightened out that bobble stitch row. So it's just a repeat of rows 2 through 5. This is actually, we're on row 6. I just repeated row 2 just to kind of show you what to do when you get here to the chain 2 space, just to be careful, but it's still just the same. So keep repeating rows 2 through 5. You will always have 8 more stitches than you did the previous round, and that's not counting this chain 2. So 8 more than the round before, but don't count this chain 2 space. You'll always have 8 more. So repeat rows 2 through 5 until you get your shawl as big as you want to be, as big as you want it to be. All right, I went ahead and done a total of 38 rows. I think that's what I got. But I went ahead and ended in a row of double crochet. That way that last row of bobble stitches will flip and lay straight. But you can do, like I said, make it as big as you want. The bigger you make it, the more it's going to wrap around you. If you want to add fringe, which I actually thought about, I think that would look awesome too. Or maybe some type of picot edging, or you can leave it the way that I did. But whatever you want to do, I know it's going to look beautiful. So I hope that you enjoyed my tutorial, and I hope you were able to follow along okay. I think that it turned out really nice. Again, special thanks to Lionbrand for providing the yarn. Don't forget to check them out at lionbrand.com. I'll put a link to their website below. Also, don't forget to check out all of my other tutorials. I have hundreds of tutorials, and I hope you can find something that you like. As we talked about, if you please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If you look in the upper left hand corner right now of the screen, you'll see a picture of my face. If you just click on my face there, you'll automatically be subscribed, and then you'll never miss any of my updates. And also don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. So thanks everybody for watching, and have a good day.